Hello, everyone. I am Fabio Alborg from the Global Training Institute, and today we are going to discuss the subject of we need to place the little spotlight here that
the revision to the ASME 30.5 2025 standard.
what does this new standard bring us? It brings us four important changes: four pillars: technical decentralization of all cabling matters, structural clarity and maintenance, and documentation within the manual and the standard. The professionalization of roles, how it impacts the qualification of these new roles, of the new requirements,
and a comprehensive universal risk management strategy, which is essentially what we call the qualification. To put it briefly,
And the number one pillar is the external documentation for the cables. It makes direct reference to ASME B30.
Therefore, it is urgently required to integrate with ASME B30.30 for cable inspection. 30.5 is no longer sufficient for inspecting cable. We must switch to B30.30 and connect with it.
In test cable management, there are what is some key concepts, and that is that everything related to the inspection of maintenance, the replacement, and the rejection of cables that were previously contained in B30.5 to 2009 has been eliminated. In the 2025 version, it now makes direct reference to P2.30.
Everything related to cable inspection, maintenance procedures, and rejection criteria. All of that must now be consulted in B30.5. This represents a significant shift in the overall approach to how cable inspections are conducted.
The cable inspector still needs to consult the B30.5 standard in order to properly review the rejection criteria and all the other elements that interact with the overall cabling system.
Here is the guide then for this wire rope inspection role to align with ASME 1330.
In that same block, regarding the topic of the cables, they make some modifications or introduce new concepts, eliminate others, and some simply refer us to B3030.
One of the things we are discussing here is not the standard certificates that are required for the cable itself. What is required is a specific certificate mentioned in B30.30, applicable to steel cables, hybrid cables, and also synthetic cables. Within this ISME B30.30 standard, there are 14 distinct criteria that must be met for the certification of these cables, which is one of the key items that the inspector must specifically request in order to successfully issue a certificate of conformity. The second pillar is the new classifications of inspections and maintenance.
It's a particular situation. All of the documentation formats which we have been constantly using for performing maintenance inspections must now be completely updated based upon the revised methodology of the B30.5 standard, effective in the year 2025.
Within the context of that new approach, frequent and periodic inspection terminology is eliminated. This is no more.
And they are replaced. All of the previous concepts are completely replaced. So the new concept is introduced: the assessment inspection, the routine shift inspection, the regular monthly inspection, and then over here, the full and complete annual inspection. And there is a significant change in the inspection process for all the equipment that is currently on standby,
depending on the period of inactivity that they might have. Therefore, the specific criteria for each inspection are established. The most extensive set of criteria is this one. What exactly are these annual inspections? I have a specific recommendation that I always give, and that is that we should always opt for the most exhaustive inspections. We can go to the some ISO standards, to ISO 992-7-1, which helps us perform this type of exhaustive or major inspections. And regarding the topic of cable inspection, which already
Differentials in the matter of the inspections of the steel cables.
Therefore, this regulation also introduced a significant modification, specifically concerning the management and retention of documentation and records. It now mandates that these specific records, such as the detailed monthly inspection reports, must be securely retained for a minimum period of 12 full months and must remain readily accessible directly at the work location. The inspector, when he comes to carry out his inspection, is going to require these documents. Where is the historical data for these records? And at the work site, the site supervisor can request them.
When it comes to the spare parts, there is also a change. Let him speak.
This section states that this spare part must comply with ISME B30.5 from the time of the components manufacture. It's not just that they are compatible with the spare parts, but that those spare parts must comply with what the standard at the time stated or clarified regarding the manufacture of the
I have this detailed guide right here, specifically designed to analyze all the significant changes in the role and the responsibilities of the inspector. What is the new role for the inspector under B30.5 2023? Next up, pillar number 3 is the qualification and accountability of the staff members. Within these new requirements are being validated for the CC hosting director. New prerequisites are now being requested for the operator, and the entire group of signalers has been unified. For the lifting director, and there's a core concept. And this changes from a named or assigned role to a qualified and demonstrable one. They must demonstrate certain skills, certain competencies. Y conse amante the requirements he must present. He needs to demonstrate a satisfactory understanding and provide evidence of his knowledge of danger zones, the use of rigging, signage, electrical areas, traffic, knowledge of regulations, knowledge of procedures, and other associated norms relevant to the environment and the site.
Environmental condition. Terrain condition. In summary, there creates a long list of 13 knowledge requirements that he must possess, and with those requirements, he must fulfill the 14 responsibilities.
Refer to M section 5 3.1 onwards, which covers the ISAGI director's work. This guide is designed to analyze this director's qualifications under the new regulations.
There in the link that I'll be leaving in the video's description, all the links will take you to each of these. You can acquire them separately.
The operator is required to know two main things: operational aids and to be requalified.
This recertification is now required every 5 years. Before, it was solely at the supervisor's discretion.
Now, this qualifications 5-year cycle is evaluated and certified. So, according to the crane,
To operator.
And he now requested that the operator go beyond simply using the crane. They must know it and demonstrate technical competence in 5 specific areas of international operational support systems. So para that as it is a requirement, this will necessitate modifications to even the training plans or the refresher courses that are currently utilized for those operators who need one. Here in this guide, you will find all of the requirements for operators under the 2025 version. Another change that occurred was in the signalers, where the main section is moved. They are moved to the qualifications. So there's a regulatory importance and some prohibitions are included. Certain activities are forbidden under coupling operations. An explicit prohibition with only one exception: when the task is for assembling or disassembling or for hooking it up or unhooking it, the rest is strictly forbidden. Here is a detailed guide that thoroughly examines all the various roles and their corresponding responsibilities. Specifically, the director, the site supervisor, the operator, the inspector, the rigger, and the signal person, all covered in the new ASME B30.5 from 2023. Now we will move on to the 4th pillar. Within this 4th pillar, we are now discussing risk planning, and the entire mindset is changing. Previously, the discussion revolved around the critical lift. However, now the focus will be on planning for all lifts, which consequently leads us to consult the ASME P30.1 standard. It is the standard
from ASEM, so that it helps us with the management of the planning of the handling activities.
With this equipment. We must therefore integrate this current regulation with the 30.5 regulation, especially regarding the more direct responsibility of the ISAGI director and the supervisor. From critical, we then move to planning, where the core concept is found in A5 3.2.4, and its title is subsequently changed. The new philosophy is this: all crane message operations involve a level of risk.
The focus is shifted towards comprehensive planning, not just simple characterization. So this means we completely eliminate the misconception that only heavy or complex messages truly require a detailed plan. Every single movement of the crane, no matter how small or seemingly minor, absolutely requires careful and thorough planning.
Here is the guide for that direct analysis of planning and how it impacts a HSMF 30.5 under the new concepts for Isaac's planning.
And finally, it also provides a legal clarification in Appendix A. Adhesivo sa legal sa ISTISA.
It states that ASME provides the guidelines, but the risk classification is performed internally by the owner or the party responsible for the operation.
Regarding these maneuvers, the clarifying text is added stating that the regulation's purpose is not to designate or to authorize any specific message as if it were an internal policy of the companies or even of the supervisor himself. Consequently, the supervisor's work here is now significantly impacted because he will need to